This is News. This is News at Prime. Good evening to you and thank you for staying with us. Let's get on to this conversation now. Public Works and Infrastructure Minister Dean Macpherson has announced that a new specialised unit in his department will now complete the 200 million rand Baartman Remembrance Centre. More than a decade after construction began, at least 32 stalled projects have so far been identified for completion. Let's speak to the Minister now, who joins us from Cape Town this evening. Minister, good evening to you and thank you very much for your time. Let's start with the Baartman Remembrance Centre. This project, Minister, my understanding is that it currently stands at about 500 million that has been spent on it, and it is only at 37% completion. This is more than 10 years after it began. What seems to be the problem here?
Well, good evening to you and to the viewers. It's actually 200 million rand, and it's closer to around 80% complete. But the timeline of 10 years is correct. And the reality is that we've been through 3 contractors there. They've all been paid, walked off, been unable to complete the work. And it's just a lack of care, I think, and focus to get these projects completed on time and on budget. And I wanted to launch the unit there because what has taken place in the name of Sarah Baartman is really an assault on her legacy. And we've seen people use her name to enrich themselves. And it is so blatant that they couldn't even spell her surname correctly. It was spelled with 1 A and not 2. So when you enter into the centre, it says the Sarah Baartman and not Baartman Centre of Remembrance. And so what we decided to do is we looked at the 32 worst projects that have been stalled and delayed. We've created a highly specialised technical unit called the Special Projects Delivery Unit that reports directly to the Director General and myself, so it has ministerial oversight. And what we're effectively trying to do is turbocharge the completion of these projects, ranging from courts to police stations, this centre, around the country, so that we can ensure that effective service delivery is provided to particularly rural communities and outlying communities that rely on these centres or police stations or magistrates' courts to receive any form of service. So it's hugely important to us. We're going to be very strict on our timelines, very strict on the budgets, and we're going to hold a panel of contractors that we have appointed. These are people that have proven work. They have excelled in projects that they've done previously, and they've met very stringent criteria in order to qualify to complete the projects in this unit.
Minister, while you talk about contractors who have a proven record of working on such projects, let's talk about the ones that have worked on this project thus far, the Baartman Remembrance Centre. Who are these people? Will there be any attempt to find answers as to why this project has dragged on for so long? And what about recouping monies if they have pocketed some without completing the project?
Absolutely, Xoli. I'm not going to argue on that point. It's true and it's valid. And I think you will have seen a week or 2 ago, I announced that only 1 contractor since 2002 has been blacklisted by the department. That's completely unacceptable. And so the Construction Industry Development Board, or CIDB, has really been tasked since we've come into office with holding people accountable and not just blacklisting them. And we've got 40 companies and individuals, directors of these companies that are in the final stages of being blacklisted. But that is not even good enough for me. They've got to go to jail. That's where they belong. People cannot abuse, in this instance, the legacy of Sarah Baartman to enrich themselves and think that they can get away with it. So we're also going to be working with the Special Investigations Unit to make sure that we're able to recoup that money. We're able to get that money back to the state so that we can also use that to complete their projects
Yeah.
that are in this unit. So we've got to be much more vigilant. We've got to be much more hands-on, and I'm not going to accept sort of these hands-off approaches by officials. We've got some very good officials. We've got some very technical people, engineers, project planners, quantity surveyors that are actually involved in this unit so that we can get it done the first time now. We're not going to do 3 or 4 contracts later. And as an example, the Baartman Centre will be complete in 13 months.
Yeah.
And I've told officials that their jobs are on the line if it doesn't happen.
The understanding, Minister Macpherson, is that you've identified some 32 of these stalled projects. Which ones worry you most, and where are they located? I mean, 32 stalled projects. That's a massive number.
Well, let me actually just refer to the list here, Xoli. So one of the really awful ones is the Mamelodi Magistrates Court, well known, been blocked for years there. The Queenstown Police Station also, unable to provide services to residents of Queenstown in the Eastern Cape. Mount Fletcher, also a police station there. The Waterkloof Air Force Base, the urgent repairs have not been completed there. So what we've tried to say in Oudtshoorn also as well, there's a project there that's been stalled. So what we've tried to do is say, let's start with the communities that desperately need these projects the most, particularly around magistrates courts, police stations, and so on, in outlying rural communities. Let's go and get them completed, and then work inwards into the inner cities, and to actually show that we can get it done. I mean, there's a lot more than these 32, but we've got to start somewhere. And we think that this is a good proof of concept for us to be able to show the public, show internally that we have the capacity to be able to do so. Let's get these over the line, hand them to our clients, hand them back to the community, and then we can take on more projects from there. But we are building up. We are rebuilding. It's not easy, but I am convinced that having a laser-like focus through the specialized unit with professionals is exactly the way to go.
Yeah. A little, let's say at the start of this month, I think it was, you held a media briefing, and it was specific to the Independent Development Trust. You're very unhappy about that entity, and you had the words, you actually, I'll paraphrase you, but you said people are going to be exposed, whether it is officials within the entity or indeed politicians. And, well, the Daily Maverick, through their Amapungane investigative team, they published a story recently suggesting that the beleaguered IDT paid 33 million rand to a company belonging to CEO Tebogo Malaka's family member. What do you know about that particular story?
What I know, Xoli, is I have come under severe attack and persecution for trying to clean up a social infrastructure agency like the IDT to ensure that those projects are completed on time and on budget. You'll be aware that I've been subjected to the most awful campaign, almost a state capture-like campaign that we saw under Bell Pottinger. I've had my life repeatedly threatened. I've had AI voice notes created, bot accounts. It's been horrific. But I am determined to get to the bottom of the rot to make sure that we have entities that function and deliver as they should. We have a new board that I have installed legally and within the compliance of the trust. We are finalizing the appointment of the new board, which will begin its new term on the 5th of July. And of course, the board is seized with ensuring that there is full compliance with the PwC investigation that is currently underway into the PSA oxygen plant tender, that 800 million rand one. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that they will be seized with the latest allegations that have been made by the Daily Maverick. But I think it would be inappropriate for me to comment on those. I have not been able to gain all the facts yet, but I'm quite sure that the board will be looking into this matter as well.
Minister Dean Macpherson, the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, thank you very much for your time this evening.